بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وبعد. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent in the Quran this magnificent ayah, it was a truthful statement about our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We only sent you as a rahmah, mercy for al-alamin. Al-alamin means all that Allah created, for everything. We know that our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was definitely a rahmah, mercy for those who believed in him. Because through faith in him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala transferred them from the darkness of shirk and kufr to the light of iman and to Jannah. Or even those who did not believe in our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, also our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sent to them as a rahmah. I'll give you just for the generation that lived during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how he was a rahmah for them, even though they disbelieved in him. There is a part among those who disbelieved in our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam who were not hostile. They liked our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They just didn't want to become Muslim. They were kind to their religion, kind to Muslims. So they lived for a period of time until they died under the mercy of Islam. That was a rahmah, because there is nothing compared to the mercy of Islam. Those who Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fought and they died in battle during his time, our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a rahmah for them. You know how? Had they lived longer, they would have fought our Rasul more, their place in Jannah would be worse. So our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a rahmah for them. But it is beyond that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sent our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the earth was filled with darkness. For hundreds of years, the religions that the Prophet ﷺ brought almost disappeared. There were pockets of Jews and Christians who still followed the old religion, who still followed some kind of truthful religion, but there were pockets. There is a hadith that says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just before sending of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he looked at the people of the earth and hated them all, except for few pockets of those who remained on the true religion, who mainly were Christian or Jewish. Meaning, they followed a trace of the truth that came through the prophets. They believed Isa was a Rasul, they believed Musa was a Rasul, and they tried to follow. But other than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hated the people of the earth before sending his Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is why, when we say that this ayah is truthful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we only sent you as a mercy for the creation. And those who were during his time who believed in him, they had the biggest and the fullest understanding of this. Before Islam came, what kind of life did they have? They were worshipping idols, fighting each other, no religion, no belief in the hereafter and the akhirah. They had no clue about the religions that came to the prophets before them, or about Iman, or a book, or anything, just living like this. The Arabs were in a very bad situation then. They were divided into hundreds of tribes. You know that by the time our Rasulullah was sent, there were over 360 idols in or around Al-Kaaba. As Abdullah ibn Mas'ud reported, this hadith is found in Sahih al-Bukhari. Around 360, meaning what? There were about more than 300 tribes and sub-tribes. Each tribe believed in a local idol. And other tribes had their own local idols. Some few tribes had a major idol. So when you hear the idols that are mentioned in the Quran, they were followed by major tribes. But every tribe had its own idol. Every family had its own idol. To the extent that it was so foolish that when they traveled, of course during that time they thought that the jinn controlled the valleys, so they were afraid. to travel, and by night they would, set camp for the night in a valley. They would say, I seek refuge with the chief among the jinn of this valley, who control this valley. I seek refuge with them. For protection, they would also need to take some idols with them. Obviously, they can't carry a stone over the donkey, otherwise the donkey will start a revolution, because they can't walk for a long time. The donkey can't walk for a long time. We're carrying a stone. So they made idols out of dates. It's carry, it's light for carrying. And when they traveled, they got hungry, they ate the idol. After they prayed to the idol, they ate it. This is how foolish people were then. So when they came to know about our Rasul ﷺ and what he brought them, those who had good sound mind among them, they said, this is different. This is our freedom now from what we used to live and how we lived it. This is now knowledge coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They appreciated the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam more than any generation ever, because of the way they were before and how they became after. Umar ibn Khattab, for example, used to be a drunk before Islam. He used to drink a lot. This is stories on in the Seerah. There are no ahadith to really substantiate many of them, but they're told in the Seerah. So he used to drink a lot. And his father Al-Khattab used to be very harsh with him. He said that Al-Khattab also used to drink a lot, and he used to send me to tend our sheep, or a sheep for some family. He used to beat me up with a stick. Umar. Now, what did Umar do to become better? He thought that the best thing I could reach is to write with both hands, to learn a little bit about the lineage, and to know about poems. Because they used to say that those who used to have these kind of qualities and writing, and they used to call them perfect men. What's a perfect man then? Who had knowledge about poems, used to write. In the case of Umar, used to write efficiently with both hands. So his best dream was to become an ambassador for Quraysh, so that when they meet for trade, they will see, here is our representative Umar. What did Allah give him when he became Muslim? Umar al-Khattab is like a classical example of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his Rasul as a mercy for al-Alameen. Before Islam, this is what he was. His tribe wasn't among the famous tribes of Quraysh, the middle, Bani Adi. They're not like Bani Hashim, Bani Umayyah, they're in the middle. And he wasn't rich, so he learned those things so he can become better and more noted in his people. He became Muslim, we know, since he became Muslim, Umar al-Khattab, Islam became mighty. One man, along with Hamza, but Umar had more effect on the Islamic group that was in Mecca than Hamza in the beginning. Hamza was the mighty warrior, everybody feared him. And we know the story in the Seerah that Abu Jahl abused our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Hamza came and smacked him, and nobody could even retaliate because they knew it was Hamza. We know in Badr, Hamza and the beginning of Uhud didn't meet anyone that he didn't kill. So he was really a strong, mighty warrior. Umar, he was very strong, but the personality also was very strong. So when he became Muslim, along with Hamza, Islam became mighty. Now, Umar ibn Khattab became the Khalifa later on, and he was the leader of the strongest nation on earth, after being what he used to be before, and then what he became. Umar ibn Khattab, when somebody wants to remember his qualities, call him Al-Faruq, call him Umar. You don't need to mention the name of the father, and everybody will know who you're talking about. So look at the transformation. And this is only one example out of thousands, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought His mercy into the hearts and lives of the companions of our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let's talk about today. You see, centuries passed, and like I said in Jumu'ah, it's not something, a surprise that the kuffar will talk about our Rasul in an ill manner. Why? They know the profound effect he had on mankind. They know it. It's not like they don't know it. And the more they talk, the more you feel that they feel outraged because of the success of Islam. Because they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it when it was one man, and they can't stop it now when it is more than a billion and a half. We know Muslims need a lot to learn and practice, but still, this is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The goodness remains in the ummah. No matter how bad a certain generation becomes, the goodness still remains in them. The fact that you see so many masajid today all over the world, mashallah, filled with people who come for salah, Allah here, mashallah, they come for classes, they want to learn, they want to practice their religion. This is a fact that this religion is, nobody can kill it, nobody can bury it, nobody can hinder it. But if we do it to, ill service to ourselves, Allah will punish us in return. So I want to let you know that the goodness in the ummah still remains until today. Will remain until the day of judgment, but we need to be better. So when we hear that what they're saying about our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like I said in Jum'ah, brothers, we have to really think about it very seriously. First of all, if it wasn't for the sending of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Arabs and non-Arabs today would still remain idol worshippers, worshipping idols, stones, men, nothing, money. It's because of the sending of this Rasul that we know La ilaha illallah. And therefore, this gift that Allah distinguished us with, we have to treat it kindly. It's a gift. There is a hadith from the great Hassan where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innama ana rahmatul muhdah." Innama, surely, I am rahmah, mercy, muhdah, sent as a gift. So if you think about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a gift sent to you personally from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how many hundreds of millions of people throughout history used this rahmah, ended up in Jannah. Allah knows how many, because our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam promised us that his ummah will be more than half of the people of Jannah. More than half. All the nations that came before, they're less in Jannah than the ummah of Muhammad. All these people, how did they? It's because La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah came to their life and made the necessary changes in their life, in their heart, to lead them to Jannah. This is what we need to do today, brothers. Imagine that nobody's attacking our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or as we know today, they're attacking him. For me, I still have the same responsibilities the Sahaba had and the generations after that, which is number one, we need to learn our religion, brothers and sisters. It's not a joke. Death is the end of every human being. Anyone who was born into this life, the hour started ticking from that moment. So we can't avoid going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We love to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because His mercies encompasses everything. And therefore we need to go back to Him so that we'll be under His care. But we need to make sure that when we do that, when we go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we do our job, our duty. He created us to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without knowing what Allah sent to His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? This Quran is magnificent. It was sent to a man who couldn't read or write. It defeated every book written by anyone who could write. Today, it's the same as it was during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A man who couldn't read or write. Out of that came the magnificent ummah that taught people how to read or write and write. How to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to learn the Quran, how to learn the Sunnah. So this is a miracle that we have today. How many among us feel that they miss the Quran? I miss the Quran. I want to read it every day. Even if I don't understand it, I still have at least the reading, the recitation, I get the benefit out of that. The Sunnah of our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a magnificent Sunnah. There is no book revealed before the Quran that rivals the Quran. Quran is the top. We have the best book. We have the best Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam of all the Anbiya and Rasul. We have the best Sunnah and the most detailed. and the best generation to teach us all these. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept the religion intact for us today so that it's proof for or against us. So I want you to, inshallah, feel the enthusiasm tonight that I want to go back home and start reading about my religion, start asking about my religion in the intention of practicing. I'll give you an example. There is a hadith collected by Imam Bukhari and Muslim where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray as you have seen me pray. Now today, many people think that the way to pray is the way I find everybody else praying. A good part of it might be true, but is this what Rasulullah ﷺ told us to do? What does this, this hadith, brothers, you live here, out of our communities and societies in the Middle East, more pressure to follow the traditions and stuff. Here, Allah gave you the opportunity to not break free from what's right, to know what's right, and to spend the time. So I would think that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Pray as you have seen me pray." I haven't seen Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. None of us have seen him. Who saw him? His companions. So what's my duty? Find out how he prayed. Now, Imam Bukhari took him 20 years to collect his Sahih. He put a lot of things about the Salah there. So I'll pick it up, inshallah ta'ala. Before they used to say, "Well, I'm not Arab. I don't understand Bukhari." You have it in English. You have it in Urdu. You have it in Turkish. When I was translating Tafsir ibn Kathir, I finished with Dar es-Salaam. I finished in 1998. I translated the half of it. You have only 2 volumes here. Hopefully, inshallah, you get more. Remind me, I can maybe, inshallah, try to have them send the whole set for you. But anyway, when I was translating it, I would, try to search for more information about a certain hadith or word, so I can put the right word in English there. I found part of Tafsir ibn Kathir in Chinese. I couldn't read a single word or letter, for sure. I was so happy, so now the Chinese can't come and say, "I don't speak Arabic." You have it in Chinese, Habibi. Why don't you read it? Why is Allah giving us all these facilities? That first of all, this is a mercy. It's a gift from Allah. I have to value the gift, and know what it's about, so that I can use it to my benefit, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who sent it. Secondly, I'm required to fulfill the terms of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I'm required. It's not a statement that I make and then I go home and forget about it. It's a contract with Allah. First, my only Lord that I worship is Allah. So I dedicate all types of worship to Him alone. No, nobody shares with that. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah, meaning I take the shara, the sharia, the legislation, the law from him only. So there's tawheed with Allah, and there's also tawheed with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, meaning what? I only take legislation from him. So when he says, "Pray as you have seen me pray," well, it's so easy, mashallah. I reach out for a book about the salah, and then find out what if what I'm doing is right or wrong, or the middle, or half. I need to know. Once we were making a seminar about the salah in Orlando, and so before every seminar I give about salah, we start about wudu. Telling people, many brothers and sisters think that they're making wudu properly. They might have. Now I'm gonna give them proof that what they're doing is right because of this hadith or that hadith. So now I know what to do before. Now I know why I'm doing it. And alhamdulillah, I brought a cup like this, 2/3 full, because that's how Rasulullah made wudu. And I made wudu in front of everybody with this much. And I washed every part 3 times. You see, when people stand next to the sink, you would think that not only him, the people around him also took a shower with him. Inshallah, the water is right. We study physics, right? If the water comes hard on your skin, what happens? If you let it come little by little,
Wallah, you'll have fun, eh? MashaAllah, very nice. You'll find that your entire hand from here all the way to here with very little water, and it's wet. It's wet. So people were thinking that, is that gonna make it with this? You know, it's not even a full cup. And every time I made it, I'm telling them, look, I am wet, my thobe is not wet, you brothers, you're not wet, so mashallah. And Rasulullah ﷺ had more hair than most men. So don't think that, well, I have more hair than Muhammad ﷺ, because one of the companions said that, or one of the tabi'in said to one of the companions, and the companion said, well, Rasulullah had more hair than you did. So, you know, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, when he used to travel, and before he got a problem with a major scholar of hadith, Yahya ibn Ma'in, they used to travel together. Yahya ibn Ma'in said, whenever I'm traveling and Imam Ahmad was making wudu, I used to cover him with my thobe. He was using so little water, I was afraid people would say he didn't know how to make wudu. I said I was just protecting him because look how little water he was using according to the Sunnah. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, you know. I was afraid, I was shielding him from people seeing him so they don't think that he didn't know how to make wudu. But who didn't know how to make wudu, him or them? Wallah, once I was in the restroom, a big masjid, and I was a little bit far, and the water, I hear the sink, the water is running. You know, I could see this guy standing next to the mirror fixing his hair and doing this and that, you know, this and that, and the water is running. You could take 5 showers with that before he started making wudu. I couldn't shout from, you know, from the bathroom. I said, maybe inshallah I'll see him when I'm done. He was gone. By the time he was gone, I would say, subhanallah. Rasulullah ﷺ said the truth. He said, some of my ummah will come later and commit aggression with regards to tuhur. Tuhur, wudu, and this is it. Commit aggression. Why are you doing this? SubhanAllah, especially in a masjid. So, the rahmah that came through our Rasul ﷺ has to be manifested in our life. The young ones who are here today, the old ones, and those in the middle, you're required to fulfill the requirements of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah by seeking the true religion and creed that has to reside in your heart from its resources, from the Quran and Sunnah and what the Imams of Islam wrote, and to seek the Sunnah through also what Allah kept for us through the Imams of Islam, including the 4 Imams, because they were from as-Salaf as-Salih. The 4 Imams were famous in the Ummah and still famous because they wanted to follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah. They didn't want to defy it. But we have to understand, brothers, there is no one, like the Christians call fallible. There is no one who doesn't make mistakes in the religion other than Muhammad. No way. Abu Bakr made mistakes and Umar made mistakes in the religion, meaning understanding some aspects or something. Umar ibn Khattab used to ask the companions about their opinion about things. Abu Bakr, this is a magnificent example. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh used to be the companion and friend of our Rasul for 20 years before Islam, 23 years after Islam, 43 years. You would imagine, say, nobody knows Rasulullah more than Abu Bakr. And it's a truthful statement. But of course, he couldn't watch Rasulullah at home, how he conducted his life with his wife. He would go to who to ask about what Rasulullah did at home? Aisha. Can you imagine this? So these magnificent examples of human beings, as knowledgeable as they are, Abu Bakr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the good news through our Rasul that he's going to Jannah. Still, he dedicated his time to learn about the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Aisha. Now, among the things that these people keep talking about, and alhamdulillah, I think I mentioned some of it here, there is a whole book coming about Aisha and the marriage of Rasulullah to Aisha. He married her when she was 9. And people keep forgetting about many things. First of all, the normal thing throughout the history of mankind, that age was okay for marriage. My own mother married when she was 10, like most of her, relatives and sisters and cousins in Palestine, in India, Pakistan. Ask your parents, grandparents. People still marry at the early age even until today. So she married Rasulullah at the age of 9, the youngest of the wives of the Prophet. When he died, she remained for decades after he died because she was young. Allah gave her that, lifetime. And she taught countless Muslims sunnah that we couldn't have learned today without that. This is one aspect why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose her at this young age, because she lived for decades afterwards teaching the ummah the religion. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, a student of Ibn Taymiyyah, said that the most knowledgeable Muslim time of all time, woman of all time, is Aisha. The most knowledgeable Muslim woman of all time is Aisha. She saw what no other women of the Prophet ﷺ saw, and she was young to keep it in the memory and to teach it, to the extent that Abu Bakr would come and ask her. So let's translate this today into something. Facts. We, hopefully, everyone who says La ilaha illallah loves Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the key here is to love him more than you love yourself, or your family, or your business. You know he is your key to go to Jannah, therefore you need to learn what he came with. Now, we have scarce time maybe because of work and other things, but still you can dedicate some time every day to know about your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wouldn't you want to know about this man who Allah sent as a mercy, the key to go to Jannah, who Allah transferred through him, all these millions and millions of people, and made them this magnificent type of human being called a Muslim follower of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, it's not only the duty. I would love to know what he did, because we love him, how he looked, how he walked, how he looked. Even the habits that are not from the religion, you don't have to follow them. If you grow your hair, not because it is a sunnah, but because it is the habit of Rasulullah, because you love Rasulullah, you'd like to look like him because he had long hair at sometimes he didn't, So you want to look like him, Allah will give you a reward for that. Just for loving our Rasulullah, for the food that he used to like. If you like the food that he used to like, you don't have to, it's not from the sunnah, Allah will give you a reward. So it's a duty because we can't know our religion except through learning, and it's also our pleasure, so that we can give back a little of what our Rasul gave to us. So brothers and sisters here who are sitting here today and thinking, mashallah, 2012, and we're so busy doing this and that, so that there is no one who works 24 hours a day, every day. Even some firefighters work for 24 hours continuously. We had a brother there like this in Kentucky when I was there. After 24 hours, he would need like 10 coffee cups to stay awake for Fajr, because he would be looking like, I'm telling brother, for Allah, you should just leave this job, because it's not natural for anyone to work 24 hours. Everybody has to sleep every night. But, one night, but nobody works 24 hours every day, the whole life. So don't tell me you don't have time to relax and rest and do the sports with the TV. This is the only sport we do these days. Change the station. You can cut out that. You can cut it out completely. And read something about your religion, Habibi. Allah's not going to ask you what kind of imam you have. If he had knowledge and he was teaching you, he's going to ask you about what you learned and what you did with that knowledge. Now, one wise guy was telling me, I was telling him, why don't you come to the classes? He said, well, you teach too many things in your class, Sunnah, Hadith, this and that. I said, okay. Well, if I learn too much, Allah will ask me about that much. Again, if I learn too many things, Allah will ask me about too many things. So I don't want to learn too many things, so Allah doesn't ask me about too many things. I said, Habibi, you can't fool me with this logic. Think you can fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to learn your religion. Of course, you can, according to the time you have, you can, inshallah, organize it. So on a weekly basis, you learn about Hadith, Quran, Sunnah. Every week, inshallah, you can expand in knowledge. And, wallah, if you dedicate your time to that, you see barakah, blessing, coming to your time, to your mind, to your knowledge, to your salah, and everything. Because now you're imitating your Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So now you're going to non-Muslims and telling them, come, I want to teach you about a man who was sent as a mercy to you. He might ask you, how was he a mercy in you, to you? Show me how he was a mercy to you before I can accept him as a mercy for myself. If he doesn't see it on you, in terms of knowledge and practice, he's not going to accept what you're saying. Because he's going to tell you, well, show me he's a mercy in your case before we talk about my case. This is why I mentioned that the kuffar who know this trick, now they can't defeat the logic of Islam. So what they do is that they attack our Rasul personally. So people don't read about him, don't listen to him, so they don't get the mercy that Allah sent through him. Why? Character assassination. Why? Because they know how you behave. It tells about what's in here. They're connected. And so if you're good in words and behavior, it will show that inshallah what's in your heart is good. So our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything that Islam came with, he practiced it. Every single practice, every single sunnah, every single dua, every single thing that Allah sent that we call Islam today came through him, and he practiced it. And therefore I need to learn about this. So this is called ilm. This is number one. Required from everyone. And those who think they can have an excuse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of this and that and this and that, let them wait until they meet Allah and find out if that's worth anything with Allah. So we have to dedicate time to learn about your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you do that, practice it. Follow it in practice. I would love to talk more about this, but I just want to give you an example. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was dying. And you know, he's called Imam, the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, because this man he memorized 2 million hadith, 2 million narrations, memory. And all these narrations had chains of narrations, people. He knew the story of everyone in those people. So it's not about 2 million narrations, it's the story of the narrators too. So no scholar in the history of Islam memorized more than Imam Ahmad. He was dying. And his son came to him and said, there's such and such a scholar of hadith at the door. He wants to come visit you. He was very ill. He said, let him in and bring the paper and pen. And his son said, you know, you're sick, what do you want with the paper and pen? He said, for some time I was wishing to meet this scholar to hear a hadith from him. Not a hadith he didn't know, a hadith that he narrated. I wanted to hear it from him. And this is the first time I've seen him for a long time, so bring the paper and pen. So that scholar went in, and Imam Ahmad said, I need that hadith. And he narrated the hadith to him, and his son wrote it. Now I'm asking, Imam Ahmad died days after that. What benefit did Ahmad get from that? 2 benefits. You know the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, the book of hadith that he left for us, over 40,000 hadith. Maybe that hadith was added there by his son Abdullah later, after he died. It's the intention. So if you hear a statement from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're one who says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah every day, I want to put it in practice. MashaAllah, this is a hadith. I intend to practice it. You get the reward of those who practice it even though you didn't. You see how magnificent this religion is? So you have it here. When I have the time, inshallah, and the ability, I'm going to do it. Allah will write it for you. You remember when Rasulullah ﷺ went to Tabuk, which is the last battle Rasulullah ﷺ went to, Ghazwa that he was leading. So it was a long trip, and the Sahaba, some of them didn't have means of transportation. So what happened is that they came to Rasulullah ﷺ, told him, I don't have a camel. And Rasulullah ﷺ told him, I don't have a camel so you can accompany me. They went back home crying for not being able to attend this ghazwa with Rasulullah. These are the men. Huh? So the Sahaba who went with him, maybe some of them were thinking, maybe we're better than the people who remained in Medina because we're going with Rasulullah for the ghazwa and they're in Medina. So Rasulullah told them, there are people we left behind in Medina who shared in our reward every time we crossed the valley or climbed the mountain. What kept them there is the valid excuse. They couldn't join us. So those people had the intention of joining Rasulullah in the most difficult ghazwa, yet they shared the reward even though they were still at home. Why? The intention. how bad is it for those who are able to practice a hadith, but they don't do it when they hear it? They argue, they say this, they say that. Well, I had, my store owner tell me that such and such prophet said that. Maybe you think it's a joke. I went to a masjid once, and I prayed, and then after I prayed, I thought, what's going on? The Qibla is not right. The whole masjid. I don't want to say where. So I said, I went outside, according to the sun, Qibla is wrong. It's not right. They were praying towards Colombia or South America or something. Said that. So I prayed the right way, and the Imam came shouting, it's Palestinian like we like to fight, I don't know for what reason. Shouting at me when I was praying, no, you don't do that. I finished the salah. I said, what's wrong with you, Akhi? Well, this is the Qibla that I said, well, it's wrong Qibla. He said, it's not your decision, it's mine. So somebody came to me and said, why are you arguing with the old man? I said, well, he's telling me this Qibla is wrong. No, if he said this is the Qibla, this is the Qibla. I said, brother, if he tells you to lay on your back and make the same in your Qibla, would you do it? He said, yes. I said, Ma'assalam. I can't argue with this. And then he told me that a scholar from India visited a place in Qatar and told him that in America they can pray to this direction. I said, brother, this chain of narration is completely wicked. I don't know who these guys are. And then he told me Ibn Baz, the scholar Ibn Baz, rahimahullah, said you can. I said, I doubt Ibn Baz had anything to say to you about this, Habibi. He wouldn't, he wouldn't tell you in any way or form to contradict the Sunnah. So some people, you tell them this is the Sunnah, they argue with you. Why are you arguing with me? You can meet Bukhari in the day after, and tell him, why did you put this hadith there? Because I didn't put it. They're the ones who told us about it. So don't argue with me about it. It's worse than if you can't do it, I'll say, I intend to do it and Allah will give me my reward for doing that. But if you argue against it, then it's a major problem. So, ilm is number one. What does it mean? Wake up, brothers. What does it mean, ilm? Learn, knowledge. Amal, action. Because if you have the knowledge, you don't have the action, you're in big trouble with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we said we need to teach. We hear people say things about our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why did he marry 9 women? Easy. Why did Sulaiman marry 1,000? Okay? So those people who come and tell you, well, your Rasul he married 9. Well, in the Bible it says Sulaiman had 1,000. I mean, don't be a miser with our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That guy had 1,000. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the 9 he had, they're mostly his age. None of them was a virgin. Every one of them, he married her for a reason. Well, that's not relevant to me. Why he married 9? You have people who are called righteous in the Old Testament who had 18 wives, 36. So when somebody comes, now I have inshallah ta'ala a little bit of knowledge. I'm getting the blessing of acting on the knowledge. I want to teach. So people have some idea about Islam. This is my opportunity now to come tell them, you're wrong, you're right, why you're not. I know Aisha is coming soon, but I had a funny debate on national radio with a man called Craig Wynn. I don't know if you heard about him. Craig Wynn, if you go on the internet, don't go on the internet, but I'm just telling you. He wrote a 1,000-page book called The Prophet of Doom, Destruction, about our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this guy, when I found about his book, and he said that he spent 10,000 hours reading the Quran. 10,000 hours means what? He spends like 5 years doing nothing but reading our Quran. He's a liar. The stuff he put in his book, more than a joke, but they made a big shot of him. Those 700 Club and all those, they bring him time after time. So there was a guy who had a national radio show, Mike Gallagher, is out of Dallas. He's famous, he's still until today. Comes in America and Canada after 5 p.m. Anyway, every few weeks he brings this guy to talk about Islam. So the brothers in Dallas went to this guy, Mike Gallagher, and told him, you know, you're being ridiculous here. Okay, you're bringing your friend, Mike Craig, when every few weeks to talk about Islam. For God's sake, bring a Muslim this time to talk about his own religion. He agreed that he would bring us both. That guy, Craig, went for 6 months, refused to debate me. Then he got stuck into it. He couldn't say no because he was saying things about the religion. So I spoke for 12 hours, he spoke for 26. You know, this is how fair the people are. But anyway, first question they asked me, I answered the question. I said, Mr. Wynn, all what I want is one verse in the Quran that says, kill men, women, and children who are not fighters, non-combatants. Just one ayah. You don't need to write a book 10,000 pages. One verse, kill men, women, and children who are not fighters, and we're done. Next segment. Then they asked me the next segment after the commercial. I asked him, they asked me, I said, where is that verse? All what I need is one verse that says, go kill the elderly, children, priests, destroy places of worship. That's all what I need, just one verse. I'll bring it the next segment. The third one, his own friend Mike Gallagher told him, where is that verse that Jalal's been asking you about? Are you making this stuff up? Are you making these things up about Islam? I'm going to bring it next segment. So I told him, all what I want from you is a statement like this. Go to this town and kill every man, woman, child, suckling, infant, oxen, sheep, and donkey. By the way, I just quoted the Old Testament, the Bible. He said, I'm not here to discuss comparative religion. I said, what comparative religion? Is there a verse in the Quran like what you have in your book? So you're attacking my book, it's actually in yours. Go read your book. He said, the next segment, the last one, the fourth, I told him, where is that verse? He said, it's in Surah Ibn Ishaq. And I started laughing. The brothers who are not laughing here today, that's not good. Is there a Surah Ibn Ishaq in the Quran? So he said, it's in Surah Ibn Ishaq. I said, Surah Ibn Ishaq? Where is this coming from? This is the guy who talks about our religion. So, ilm, amal, you need to make da'wah. The da'wah here, two parts. Positive, you talk about our Rasul, the qualities of Islam, the qualities of Muslims, all good things. This is good da'wah. Also, defense is a very good da'wah. Allah did it in the Quran. Rasulullah did it in his Sunnah. The Sahaba, the Imams of Islam, they did it. It's a good way of making da'wah by telling people that what you're saying is wrong and this is the right thing about our Rasul. So if you're confronted with this kind of situation here, what are you going to say? You're just going to get angry and go on demonstrations in the street like these people do and fight with Muslim soldiers and, you know, and burn Muslim cars because somebody in Denmark forgot their cheese and they said something about our Rasul. It doesn't make any sense. You see, Denmark, we didn't do anything wrong to Denmark. It's this big on the map. And I think they have cheese and a couple of other things. So they say things about our Rasul. The best thing to respond is not to fight with a Muslim soldier in Pakistan or in Egypt or in Jordan. It's come with knowledge and tell them, brothers, about those pictures that they keep posting about our Rasul. Why are you angry? I can tell you 1,000,000,000% this is not Rasulullah.
Right?
Right? So there's pictures of someone, they call him Muhammad, they call him Abdullah, they call him George. What's the difference? You see what? This is not Rasulullah. He was among the most handsome men of all time. That the Sahaba, when they saw him, they were amazed at how handsome he was. And these people, they couldn't even come close to portraying Rasulullah. So it's not him. So why are we angry? You see? Secondly, they do this to their own Lord and Savior. You know, there were movies here in the past few years. They called Isa homosexual. They said that he was married to a prostitute. So they degrade their own Lord and Savior that they chose. Of course, they do that to our Rasul. So that doesn't make me angry. Plus, on a daily basis in America, brothers, in Canada, people are attacking the religion, radio, TV stations, newspapers, from churches, you know, synagogues. Everybody stands and talks about, this is what makes you angry? What about what happens every day? which is far, far more serious than these pictures. Because these people, when I travel, and I travel a lot by land because I take my books with me. We give, alhamdulillah, a lot of books for free in masajid. So I take books with me, and I pass by many areas, and I want to listen to news. It's all Christian radio. There's Muslims, there's Muslims. There's Jews, and if it's a Catholic, it talks about Protestants, Muslims, and Jews. And if it is a Protestant, it talks about Catholics, Muslims, and Jews. But they're feeding the people hatred of us and the wrong image. And therefore, we have to do something about it. And the best way to do it is, especially here, no violence. It's not needed, wallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to protect His religion, and He did. All what we have to do is take it from here to there. And bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, brothers and sisters, don't take that because I spend more time than you in learning and practicing and teaching that I am better than you. It's just, this is my profession, but everybody can do a good job. Among the good jobs, inshallah, I'll finish in a few minutes, that we need to do. Listen, I wrote a series of books. There are going to be 8, inshallah. This is 1 and 2. According to the Prophet of Mercy, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Each one talks about a different aspect of the personality of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this one, I spoke about it during Jum'ah. It talks about the pillars of Iman, pillars of Islam, and many of the important details. This is good da'wah for you brothers before the non-Muslims. Because many of us don't even know these things. Or they know, but they don't know what the proof is. So make it easy. MashaAllah, we're talking about Allah has names and attributes. I find the ayah easy. And therefore, when I want to talk about Islam to my family, to myself, and to other people, let me read this, inshallah, get basic information. So if somebody at work telling me, I heard in your religion, they cut when somebody steals, they cut off their nose. You're laughing, I heard it in Sin a few years ago. Somebody came as an expert in Islam. He said, yeah, those Muslims, when somebody steals, they cut off their nose. So I was giving a lecture at the University of Miami once. I said to the people, I know you heard what these people said on CNN a few days ago. CNN, some other station, Allah, they're all the same. So I said, those who went to the Middle East, anybody here went to the Middle East? Yeah, I did. Did you see people walking around in the streets without noses on? No. So what's this garbage? Well, this guy's an expert. Reading the Quran, it's the hand. You steal, you lose the hand. You don't steal, you keep it. So this is the formula here. Then they start, instead of saying something, this is foolish. So, well, why cut the hands? It's harsh. I said, it's less harsh than stealing somebody who doesn't have income. You remember a few years ago, this, okay, that's not it's a recording. So a 70-plus-year-old woman was in the ATM machine, and she was taking her, like she had like $200 a month, that's all she earned. And then a huge man came inside, you remember? And started punching her. And she was punching him back. I mean, she was like a fourth of his size. I mean, are you telling me that this guy doesn't deserve to have his hand and maybe his head removed? This is not right. This is not normal. And anyway, they say it's harsh. What's the punishment in the Old Testament for theft? You know? Slavery. So you tell somebody you're going to be a slave for this guy forever, or lose the hand. I'll lose the hand. If that's the option, I'll lose the hand. Anyway, it's meant to be harsh. But I'm saying that so many things that come in our life that we can, inshallah ta'ala, answer. It doesn't have to be, I try to make it light with some jokes, because people are harsh these days. But anyway, there are many facts that they can't shock the people here. You remember the new Pope, when he started what they call the papacy, the first thing he did is attack our Rasul Sallallahu, right? It's far worse than those pictures, because look what he said. He said, he was quoting an emperor from before, show me just what Muhammad brought that was new, and there you will find things only evil and inhuman, such as his command to spread by the sword the faith he preached. So this is one point that he spoke about. I responded by 50. He said, anyone bring anything that Muhammad brought, it's going to be evil. I brought 50, not one. So we can respond to this man and tell him with knowledge, you said anything that Muhammad brought that was new, it's evil. He's 50. And then I compared this to their books. Because brothers, they talk about freedom of speech. Fine, let's use it. You have freedom of speech to talk about my Rasul. I'll talk about you and your book and your teacher, and in a good way. Now, spread by the sword. In the Quran, Allah says what? La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in religion. In their book it says, go to the valleys and the streets and compel everybody to come to my house. Based on that, St. Augustine, you know the first city established in the United States, which city in Florida? St. Augustine, because he's like a big shot there. He said, based on this, the government should send people to force those who are deviant, don't follow the right path, to come back to the right path or punish them. So they used it to punish people who are against, who have some kind of other ideas in the religion. What happened in Spain later on, what they call it? Inquisitions. It was based on this fatwa by this Shaykh, St. Augustine. See? So when they say your religion says, then no. And the Quran says there is no compulsion in religion, and yours it says. There are 50 things here that happen here, and people are circulating about our religion. And I'm suggesting that, inshallah ta'ala, each one is answered in 2, 3, 4 pages. Read it, because if they ask you about so many things, about the inheritance for women, about this, and you find some answer here, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to respond effectively.
والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما